Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. There are many ways to support the show. You can always share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. And you can also sign up for the Patreon feed and get all the extra content there for as little as $1 a month. And you can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts and some other items with designs made by friends of the show. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. And I do want to I won't say their name, but I do want to thank uh, someone who recently donated to the show as well. So really appreciate that. It was in honor of my birthday, which was just last weekend, and yeah, I'm grateful for that. So thank you. Uh, Also, please follow friends of the show. That would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel and is the co-host of this show on Saturdays when she can make it, and Michael Strange, host of Trouble Minds Radio and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows online 24/7 for free, including my own as well. So definitely recommend checking that out when you can. And I think that takes care of everything as far as all the introduction stuff here. Recording this at a different time, so I keep looking at the clock and thinking that, wondering what's going on. But other than that, glad to be here doing this, and looking forward to doing more as much as I can with these shows in the future. The release schedule will not change, at least as far as I can tell, as far as I can figure. Still be 5 shows coming out per week, but I plan on recording extra shows each week so that during weeks when I can't record for whatever reason, I can still hopefully put out shows that have been previously recorded. So, but with that, let me get to the document here with all these true stories on it, and we'll get started. So let's see here. This first one says it was really late at night, like maybe 1 a.m. I was alone in my room when I heard what sounded like a woman crying in my home. I got up and wandered around, but there wasn't anyone else in the house. It was very clearly the sound of a female bawling, but I couldn't find a clear source. I'm not quite sure how to tell if something is a mimic or something else. So maybe someone has an answer, and that's where that one ends. I would hope that's more of a residual sound from a previous event in the area. That whatever the reason was for that sound, for someone to make that sound, it was something that happened in the past, and it was just whatever environmental triggers there are that cause residual energy to be, I don't know if be activated. I don't know how that works, but to be active, um, that's what happened. But again, I don't know. So it's always hard to tell with those when it's just one sound and it's a voice, and there's no words, and and it happens one time and then it's done. So always hard to know. Even more so than when there's repeated activity, you can kind of pick up on patterns sometimes, and maybe start to get an idea of what's going on. In rare cases, you'll even get people get messages, um, to where they can put together some kind of a story of why, who and why, or who's there and why they're there, and all those kinds of things. But that is definitely not always the case. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, years ago, when I was in my early 20s, in a town in Alabama, I was staying at my aunt's home with my cousins. One night, everyone went out, and I stayed with one of my cousin's children, and we were in the house alone. At one point, I heard a ruffling noise in the kitchen. It sounded like plastic bags you would get from the grocery store. I went into the kitchen, assuming they, and I guess they mean, oh, the family, they were back from the store. There was no one there. The hair on my arm began to stand up as I began to feel uneasy about the house. I went back to the living room, and after a bit, I saw a cat walking in the hallway. We did not have any cats. I followed the cat, reached down slowly to pick it up, and it seemed like it became a flash of light and colors and went under my cousin's bedroom door. The sounds of someone in the kitchen could be heard, along with more plastic in an infant carrier. Did I read that right? Sorry. Plastic bags, roughly. I grabbed the one child who was a toddler and the other resting in an infant carrier. There we go. I skipped the line before, and began to load them into my car. We were leaving. Just before I could get in to drive away, my aunt and cousins arrived from the store. I think it was the grocery store. They asked me what I was doing and what I had seen and heard. They looked at each other and said the cat I had seen was my one cousin's cat who had died years before. That house never felt comfortable the entire time I stayed there. I only felt comfortable once I left. And that's where that one ends. Uh, I've heard a lot of, read a lot of stories about apparitions of cats, and I've never heard of them turning into light and then going under a door, and that to me is fascinating. Like it was aware of what it could do in a similar way where we hear about apparitions of people that seem to have to know what they are and what they can do, and they do these amazing unexplainable things. Um, and I used to think of that as being a case of, well, after they passed, they learned what they could do. They figured it out, and I guess it could still this could still apply to animals. Um, I mean, obviously they have brains; they can think, and it's not the same as humans, but it's not worse or better. I don't think. Um, Probably, possibly even better. Who knows? Um, so that just blew my mind. First of all, the light turning into light like that was fascinating the first time I read that. But now reading it again, weeks after I found that post, it's amazing to me that this cat spirit, um, if that's what it was aware of what it was and what it could do and did that. So um, I'm wondering if it was that cat sort of either going back and forth, sort of teleporting between the kitchen and the hallway and the bedroom and the kitchen, or if those were residual sounds of what it used to do when it was alive and the person was just picking up on it. Uh, I can understand why they were frightened in a way because it was unexpected. Um, I don't know that I automatically get a negative feeling from that description there, but obviously I wasn't there. But I would hope that if whatever that was, if it was the cat or some other being, didn't mean any harm. It just wanted to make itself known. Uh, so, because it doesn't sound like anything necessarily malicious happened. Just sounds like like activity. But it's always hard to say with these accounts unless you're there for the experience. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, I must start off by saying I am an agnostic and highly skeptical of anything considered paranormal. To me, the story I'm about to tell is just one big coincidence or weird brain chemistry, but you all might have a different opinion. It happened 2 years ago in the Mojave Desert. I was working doing, I gotta scroll down here, doing environmental restoration with a crew, and we'd camp out for days at a time on site. One night we were sitting around a bonfire, eating dinner, just chatting to pass the time. Somehow, the conversation turned to skinwalkers. My buddy, uh, W, believed in them. I didn't, and I was messing with him a bit, saying the word out loud. He said if he heard me screaming at night, he wouldn't come to save me. We finished our dinner, put out the fire, and went to our tents. I fell asleep quickly. I believe I woke up at around 1 or 2 in the night. I shall now tell the dream as it happened. The first thing I heard was distant talking. In the very next moment, I realized I couldn't move my body. Not many seconds later, I heard footsteps going around my tent, like multiple people circling it. I then saw shadows form on my tent, people going around and around my tent, hand in hand. The shadows were human figures, but with messed up proportions, especially the arms, which were elongated. I don't remember how long that part lasted. It was at this point I had already accepted that this is how I was going to die. Then, in my left ear, specifically, I heard a little girl's voice. She said, Do you want it to stop? I managed to very faintly whisper, Yes. And in that moment, I jolted up and the visions disappeared. I must note that before this night, I had never had a sleep paralysis dream, and I was not a drug or alcohol user. I still think it was just a coincidence. What do you all think? And that's where that one ends. To me, that one is fascinating because you have this experience that happens after a conversation where one person is they're talking about something paranormal and one person believes in it and then another doesn't. And they're I mean, obviously they didn't go on and on about it, making fun of it, but they did sort of go on for a little bit. And I do wonder now, maybe we could say that something in the person's mind, I don't know, felt bad about being so dismissive and somehow generated the whole thing. Um, maybe, I don't know. But the other possibility is they weren't necessarily completely alone out there, and some entity or entities or some consciousness decided to make a point with this individual and try to show them, hey, there's more out here in this world than you may think there is. And it doesn't seem like it's evil. Again, the part with the girl's voice whispering and asking if the witness wanted it to stop is fascinating. And of course, once they said yes, it all stopped. So, really amazing experience there to me because um, either it was maybe possibly just a regular dream where the person's own mind was sort of processing the idea of this paranormal stuff and maybe wondering if it shouldn't have been so dismissive, or it was something possibly paranormal going on there on that campsite. Uh, I wonder if they ever had any more. I mean, usually if people have multiple experiences in the location, often they'll make a longer post about it. So I'm wondering if that was the only experience they ever had there. Um, Again, as I always say, whether it's repeat experiences or just one, either way, it's always fascinating. But when it's just one, it does make me wonder: was there some consciousness there that was just passing through that overheard the conversation and decided to make a point, or was there someone already there? Um, so I don't know. That to me is a fascinating one. I like how the person is they lay out what they think it was, and but they say maybe it was paranormal, and maybe you all think it's paranormal, and they were not disrespectful or um, directly hostile toward the idea of it being paranormal. I, I'm fine with people being skeptical or not believing as long as they are polite and respectful to others who maybe have had experiences that do believe these things, these paranormal experiences happen. So, and I know I'm biased in that I've had several experiences, but I still think kindness and respect should be given at all times until at least someone is not that way to you, and then go forward with that as you need to. But give people the benefit of the doubt is always my position when it comes to reports of paranormal experiences, because what if, again, what if it was paranormal? So let's get at least one more in here before we stop this show here for tonight. This episode, I should say. I'll be doing one more for this, one more recording for this night. This next one says, I don't believe in ghosts or spirits, other than that which is related to non-human intelligence. I'm going to stop there for a second. To me, that's fascinating. Basically, that is another phrase in a way for alien or not human. Um, yeah, so not human. So that's fascinating that and we see this a lot. There are a lot of people who maybe have had experience with one type of thing or another, cryptids or ghosts or aliens, but not in the others, and so they have a hard time believing in them. And that's again going back to what I was just saying. That's not I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just think that's fascinating. Where again, we all have our own sort of information and experience and biases based on that, I guess, and it's important to be aware of those. Anyway, going back to this, it says, but I experienced something when I was a child, and I can't. That's just not. There you go. I can't explain it. When I was around 6 years old, I saw an adult woman in our front garden area, and she was walking on the paving slabs, looking down at uh, at the ground. Keep on losing my spot here. Smiling. Due to where the property was, no one would ever walk into the section accidentally. And the area where she was walking had nothing of interest in it. Anyway, I immediately informed my family that someone was in our front garden. My mother could not see the woman, but strangely, my sister, my 8-year-old sister, could see her. The woman was very close, on the other side of the window, so about 3 to 5 meters away, max. After about 20 seconds, she literally vanished before our eyes. And that's where that one ends. So it sounds like a sort of a typical apparition, whether it's a spirit or consciousness, or some kind of a time anomaly. Seems like those are good possibilities. There are residual energy as well. Sort of the usual ghost-like experience, and either it's a spirit or residual energy, or again some kind of time anomaly where it was a physical person that was only visible for a short amount of time. And I I had no idea about the possibility of time anomalies and them being a possible cause for reported paranormal activity for many years until just a few years ago, I would say. And it really has changed how I look at a lot of reports of experiences. Um, in that it adds another possibility as to what people are experiencing and seeing and or hearing, all these different things here. So again, I always like to say too now, I don't think it's this or that. I think it's always there's this possibility and there's that possibility. So anyway, um, so yeah, that'll do it for this episode as far as true stories. Thank you all for listening to the podcast. We are getting close to episode 1000. We're only less than 60 episodes away, and looking forward to that. That will be amazing. Thanks again to everyone who listens to the show. Please check out all the links in the episode description for Jen, like I said, and then Michael Strange, and also for Ricky of the Anything Is Possible podcast, because I've been joining him on Sundays as well. So thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.